Welcome to today's episode, everybody. We have a very exciting guest with us today, and you have a bonus with this episode. So we are going to dive straight into the interview with Dr. Hasan Al-Mozayin, and at the end of this episode you are going to find the keynote speech that he did at our Become a Force for Good event in 2021. He spoke about how to help others by helping yourself. You're going to absolutely love it. So enjoy the interview and then stay tuned for the bonus keynote at the very end of today's episode.
Okay, welcome and welcome to today's show, everyone. You might remember today's guest from our Become a Force for Good event last year, Dr. Hasan Al-Mozayin, who is a life, career, and executive coach with over 20 years of experience working with private individuals and corporate clients. Now, drawing upon his background in pharmaceuticals, as well as many years of experience in design and development of training courses and comprehensive understanding of social and emotional intelligence, Dr. Hasan has a unique skill to lead success and improve capabilities through changing behavior or patterns of behavior, building strength and minimizing weaknesses. So welcome to the show. It's great to have you here.
It's always a pleasure, Jonathan, Charlotte. I always say that every time I talk to both of you, I take a big, huge mass of energy and positivity, and would always push me forward. So I cannot wait to start this conversation.
Right back at you, Dr. Hasan. Honestly, we loved speaking to you, and we're so happy that we've been able to pin you down for this conversation so we can go deep on a few really cool topics. So for our listeners that perhaps haven't met you yet, do you want to just introduce yourself a little bit for us?
Yeah, it is nice. You know how hard for people to talk about themselves, and I always say that part of my road to realize life and to know how to live it is how to know myself and how to define myself. Because I used to think that definition is about achievements or about what I own, like or nationality or my name. And then I realized that no, it's something deep and more simple. I'm just a passionate person that's trying to grow, and in this road of growing, I only realize how ignorant I am. And this gives me another motive to learn more and grow more, to know more that I'm ignorant. And it's never ending. And this would give me pleasure in life. I started in the field of pharmacology, and everything happened for a reason. When I wanted to be specialized and to have something so special to work on, it was central nervous system medications. And also it was a coincidence. And from there, I started to visit some mental hospitals. And again, you go there with a perception out of ignorance that you will find people, because I always say people who lose their minds, they have schizophrenia, depression, they are always, I think they are not educated enough, or maybe they are financially not okay, poverty maybe. And then you go there to see people who are smarter than you. They have a lot of money. They are highly educated, and then they lose it. And this confused me and make me start to ask why people are not ready and why we are so fragile. And I started to feel like I am in danger. I think I will never have depression. I will never have an anxiety. I will never reach to a place where I have to take medications and I go to a mental hospital. But then I say, no, I'm not that far. And this leads to understanding more, because I was not interested in the chemical treatments, because I think that was too late. I thought about how prophylaxis, how can we start from the beginning? How can we, and I remember there was a patient I met, and he was highly educated. And when I start to talk to him, I felt like I'm very small. He's so informative. But then it was a love story that leads him to lose his mind. And when you look at it, it's silly. How come, okay, she left and you can find someone else. But this for him was something so big to handle. And from there, I started to understand that we are not educated about life. We go to school to learn how to talk, but nobody teach us how to communicate. because it's a big difference. I can communicate without even using oral language. And we go to school to understand more or to study math, but nobody knows how to calculate steps for his future. So, and so on and so forth. So I understand from that point that we need more skills to face life. And through my experience, I had some hardship, losing my mother to cancer in a very short period of time, then losing my sister for no reason, 33 years old, to sleep and never woke up, complaining of nothing, very healthy, eating healthy, doing everything right. And other stuff in life, life is life. So this make me understand, I don't want to be positive. I don't want to be negative. I'm searching for realism, but certain type of realism, which is educated realism. I wanna live this life with as much information as I can get to be able to handle and withstand the next hit, because life will always hit, always, all the time. So that's a brief who I am. This is now my work. I'm going always online. I'm doing some courses, teaching people more about emotional intelligence, leadership. I have an amazing course that was my passion. It's called School of Life. And in this course, we started with one level, and I thought that it will be one level only, but now we reached to 5th level, because information, as I said, every time you discover that there is more things to learn, and I'm learning from my customer more than I'm learning from any other books. So that's a brief.
Love that. Brilliant. Listen, thank you so much for sharing all that. I think it's always good for our listeners to hear who you are, like you said, outside of all of those labels and all of those kind of external things, because underneath it all, we're all just human trying to figure this stuff out and live in the way that it serves in some way, shape or form.
Absolutely. And what you obviously, like your story is just, I think a lot of people will probably relate to some of the instances and situations that you found yourself in, especially with losing your mother, the loss you've gone through in your life. And I think that leads us as kind of society to start thinking about everything that is kind of quote unquote kind of bad that's going on around us, our health, our whatever's going on, how we feel, our energy levels, all this stuff. But we forget to kind of bring it back to actually define, okay, if we don't want all this that's happening around us, we don't want to let our own health suffer, we don't want the health of our family and our loved ones to suffer, is what does being well actually mean? Like, instead of going, I don't want this, okay, what do you want instead? What does being well mean for you? So what do you want? So that's my question for you, is what is your definition of being well? What does that mean for you?
Wow, that's an amazing question. And I think that there is no one day that I woke up and I don't ask myself, what do I want? And the idea is that I think most of the people, they want stuff and they need completely other stuff. And this makes a big conflict. And this is because also of the conflict of values. I will give you an example. I will talk now as a man. One of the biggest value for me as a man is freedom. And one of the biggest value for me as a man is family and stability. Look at this. Inside me now, there is a conflict. And this conflict is, okay, how can I be in a family and to reach to stability without feeling that I'm losing my freedom? And this in this case, this is what is causing a lot of cheating, quitting, divorcing, breaking hearts, because of this conflict, because we don't understand what's happening inside us. So this is number one. I think we need all to rearrange our values, because we all have values. There is nobody who don't have values. We all have values. But at the end of the day, the priority of the value is more about the pain that you are going through right now. So when you are in pain in a certain place, in a certain time of your life, suddenly one value will be so valuable. So if you go back home and you have a lot of financial stress, and then your wife, your girlfriend is asking you, where have you been? I was worried about you. Suddenly you will feel like, oh, why you're asking me this question? Even my mother was not asking me this question. I want to be free. Don't ask me this again, or whatever. But again, it's not out of I don't like you, or I don't love you, or the love is dead. No, it's just inside me there is a conflict, and I'm expressing it with anger, with sadness. At the end of the day, to be well, I think to understand and accept the fact that the only way to grow is pain. Life is unpredictable, and the biggest issue of a human being that they always want to be certain. Certainty is a very high need in us. And how can I be certain if I don't even know if I will live tomorrow or not? Usually, for example, when you hear someone die, they say, so he died. Immediately, the first question is, how did he die? It doesn't matter at that time. But you know why you're asking? Because you need certainty. You need to say, he did something stupid. I will never do something like this. I was not smoking. I was not doing this. You just need to relate that what you are doing now, you want to be certain about what you're doing right now. And this is a very childish way of thinking about life. Life is unpredictable, and you cannot be certain about anything. So when you accept this fact, you will be certain about uncertainty. And this will make you more open to accept anything that is happening in your life. And instead of just going through an emotion and live in it, because some people, it's called emotional home. The emotional home for them is sadness. And when you come and talk to them and they say, you know what, I'm going to solve this issue, they will prove to you that you cannot solve anything. And they will always make excuse of, no, it's not going to work. Oh, no, it's not going to work. Oh, yeah. So because they don't want to leave home sweet home. So you will understand that you will not have an emotional home that is based on one emotion. You will be emotionally intelligent in a way that, you know what, I'm going to go through sadness. I'm going to praise it. I'm going to ask myself this question. What did I learn? What should I do in the future? How can I go forward from here? And it might sound so romantic and so, but it's the only truth. There is nothing else to do except accepting and moving on and growing. If you're not growing, you're dead. That's my principle. If you're not growing, you're dead. So I hope that this will, but the question is amazing, because this definition will always lead you to a lot of conflicts or a lot of peace.
I love the answer to that. I think that's the best answer we've had, or at least it's a very unique answer that we've had on the show. Because, like, in order to be well, we need to be aware of what we value in the first place, right? Consciously, because a lot of people are operating from this place of like being automatic, right? Completely subconsciously. So we're going around living in our emotional home without really knowing that we're even in there and not knowing why we're in there and what is even driving our decisions, our choices in life as well. So this brings me to my next question for you is, what do you believe then, and you've touched on this already, I think, is stopping us from being well?
I will put number one is the belief that we have no options. I've met people all over the world and from everywhere, and it's always the same. Like, I don't have choices in life. And the definition of freedom, are you free or you're not? It depends on how you define your freedom. Because if you define your freedom of having options, okay, this is amazing. But again, in certain situations when life hits and you think that, oh, I don't have options, you have to understand that freedom is mainly your full freedom in choosing your reaction, not what happened to you. You have to choose how you will react to what happened to you. This is the only freedom that you will have. There is nothing will give you, again, we will go back to certainty. Money will not give you certainty. I have a lot of money. And when my mother was sick, I thought that money will save her. It didn't. And I lost all my money and I lost my mother. And it was a lesson for me. How you think that money is no, it's not. And I always say, if money will make people happy, I'm not gonna work. I will lose my work, because most of the people that comes to me, they have a lot of money, but they don't know how to manage. So the lack of choices make people feel desperate, and then they go into this victimizing, like, oh my God, I cannot do anything. I don't know. I have bad luck. Life is bad to me, and so on and so forth. So number one rule for me is like, I always have an option. At the end of the day, I will always have an option about how I will react. And when I say, you know what, I'm going to react in a different way, because in this situation, I have to be sad, and I have to be sometimes maybe paralyzed out of sadness. It's like a shock. But then I said to myself, okay, what options do I have? This is what happened for me when my mother died. At the beginning, it was like, oh my God, everything went for nothing. I lost her. I lost a lot of money. But then I said to myself, what options do I have? And this made me think, like, I have an option now. This woman, I love her for a reason. And she needs to leave a legacy, and I will be her legacy. You know, she was raising me to do so. So now is the time for me to work for that. And in this trip, I'm not saying that I'm giving this all to her. I am the first beneficial. I'm the first to benefit from all this, because it was happiness, pure happiness in my heart when people say, oh my God, because I always mention her and people start to pray to her. And I think 1 week ago, I said, there are people praying to her from all over the world. And I said, if I told my mother at that day that one day when you will die, there are people in UK and people in Algeria and people that will pray to you and will send you blessings, and she will not believe me, because she thinks that she's a very kind woman that is living in a small house, raising 5 kids. But again, this is what I think that we need to understand, that we have choices. If you understand that you have choices, you will always find a way. You will always find a way to accept, to digest, to grow, to move on.
Absolutely. It's so true what you say. That's when you shift from, like you said, being in that victim mentality to taking back control and responsibility of your own life. When you start to realize you have got choices, no matter how bad things get, you have choices you can make to get out and and start feel the way you want to feel, think the way you want to think, or do what you want to do. But it just doesn't seem like it when you're in the moment. When you're in it and you're feeling it and you feel like everything, like the weight of the world is on top of you, it's hard to see those options. So what would you say to someone who is in that situation, who is feeling like everything is just piled on top of them and they feel like they have no way out? What would you say to them if they're thinking, if I've got options, I can't see them? What would you tell that person?
First of all, I will say to him, her, it's okay. It's okay. Go down more. It's okay. Cry, shout, whatever you want to do. I will not stop you. I will not tell you that what you're doing is wrong. I'm not supposed to judge you. I understand your pain, and I will never be able to feel it, because you are the only one who will feel your pain. But I'm going to tell you, after all this, you will eventually find a way, because you are not the only one who went through this. There are a lot of people who went through this. Maybe they have bigger issue, maybe they have smaller issue, but there is no unit to measure sadness. I will not say that I am sad 25 kilogram and Charlotte is sad 50 kilograms. Sadness is sadness. Regardless of the reason, it's going inside the heart and you feel that it's squeezed. So I will say, take your time, but don't last there forever. You need to understand that this is happening for a reason. If you start to ask yourself and to talk to yourself in a different way, saying that everything in this life is not happening to me, it's happening for me, you will start to see another way. Now you will ask me, why should I say something like this? And I will tell you, because what other options you have? You want to cry until the end of your life? Okay, do it. It's your life, it's not mine. But I'm trying to give you an advice. Use it, try it, it will work. How do I know? Other people do it and did it, and they pass. They went through. And again, I'm gonna tell you, there are a lot of shit coming. So it will not be the last thing that will happen to you, but this will make you stronger. This will make you with immunity, since we are now everyone is educated about immunity and pandemic and viruses. We will have immunity. You will have immunity. So that's the only thing, because when people are down and when they are going through this storm, logic is a bad thing to use. In certain places, we need just to sit and listen to people complaining and let them cry, let them take it all out. But after that, we need to be assertive, not aggressive and not submissive. We need to be assertive with them. We need to tell them, you know what, okay, I feel bad for you because this happened for you, but now I will not feel bad for you because you need to do something about it. Welcome to life. I don't think that, and this is something I see everywhere I go, that I don't know why the generations are not raised in a way to understand life. They think that life is my mother and my father, and this kind of childish growth, and this makes them always searching for superficial stuff, not going into the depth of it, understanding that life is not a place that you will come just to sing and look at flowers and whatever you will want, it will happen. So we need to be realistic again, and we need to fight for our I will not use fight is a big word, but I think we need to have this immunity and to be aware that we need this immunity in order to reach to where we want to reach.
Yeah. That answer is so all-encompassing of a lot of the things that we speak about here as well, which is about when you're feeling something, it's okay to feel it, right? For too long, we've bottled things up and held on to things. Us, in our personal experience, clients that we work with, I think everybody's done that to some extent. And it's almost like there's a fear of letting it out sometimes as well, until it feels like there isn't a choice, like you said, and something just paralyzes you. We have that dark soul of the night, or that incident in our life, that significant moment, and it just shifts the paradigm that you're living in, and it starts to make you question things. But the other thing that I really like about what you said there is about coming to it really from a place of compassion, right? And not falling into the same place that perhaps the person that's suffering is, but being able to lend an ear and to have that shoulder. It is an essential part of healing, a part of growing. But like you said, the power comes when you start to realize you don't have to stay there, right? We're actually, emotionally, we're only actually, I'm sure you know this, Hasan, is like we only have like 90 seconds of the emotion, like the chemical drop of a certain emotion in our system. After that, we only feel that way because we're reinforcing it through the way that we're thinking, right? So technically, after 90 seconds, we're kind of bringing it on ourselves, and, that's probably a whole nother conversation, but I think the powerful takeaway that I really want our listeners to hear is that they have a choice to be able to move forwards from a place of struggle. And you're right, life is going to keep hitting. It is going to, keep challenging us because we're here to grow, right? Like you said earlier, right? If we're not growing, we're dying, right? So
it's amazing. It's amazing when you reach this awareness, Charlotte. I will remind you, because we met before, and both of you have an amazing career in bodybuilding, gym, sport. And when I used to go to the gym, and when I reach to this point where I don't feel pain or fever inside my muscles, I was so worried. Why this is happening to me? Why I am not gaining anything from going to the gym? I am not having fever. I remember when I go and next I do legs, and legs day is always awful. And next day, and the third day, the second day, the third day, if I don't feel that I cannot go out from my bed because of the pain in my muscle, I just say to myself, I was wasting my time. I didn't train. Something was wrong about my training. I didn't feel the pain. And by the way, the gym, I always go to the gym and look, and I always relate gym to life.
Yeah.
The gym and life are there are a lot of mutual things. You can look at everything we are doing in the gym. 2 days ago, I was doing abs, and I was doing it decline, and I was going up and then going down. And I was thinking that this is my life. You know, I was going up thinking that I control everything, but then I couldn't, and I went back. But when I went back, I want to go up again, and then I went back. And from going high and going down, from success to failure, this is where my abs and six-pack was amazing. So I grow through this fluctuation of failure and success, and a lot of other stuff. So you are right about people realizing what's happening inside their brains and what's happening, what is the emotions that they are going. By the way, a lot of people, they don't even understand what emotion that they are feeling.
Yeah.
And this is part of emotional intelligence, to be aware of your emotions.
Yeah, that was, well,
Yeah.
I think both of us. Well, you knew how you felt. You were angry all the time.
But I didn't know why I was angry. But again, it came back to suppressing emotion from childhood. As a man, kind of growing up thinking you can't express emotions, you can't show emotions apart from sarcasm, anger, frustration, all these things. But you can't show anything else. You can't show vulnerability, because that's classed as a quote unquote weakness in a man. So it's about being strong, and if something happens, just shake it off, bottle it in, keep it inside, and crack on with it. And that caused a lot of problems for me growing up as I got older, into my 20s, into my 30s. And it took me a while to become emotionally intelligent, to realize, this is no longer serving me. I said, being angry all the time it's not a resourceful feeling to have all the time. It actually causes a lot of pain, a lot of suffering. So definitely emotional intelligence is so key. It's becoming conscious of your emotions and how, not just what you're feeling, but like why you're feeling the way you're feeling, how you're feeling all the time, and just being able to tap into it and just understand why certain things make you feel a certain way, and if that feeling serves you or not. Is it gonna serve you in growing and kind of taking those steps into where you want to be, or is it going to hold you back and limit you from growing? Which, like you said, if you're not growing, you're dying. So it's just understanding. I think you get to that certain level of emotional intelligence where you start to understand emotions are not good or bad. They, depending on what's happening around you, how you're feeling, what you're feeling, they either serve you or they don't serve you. And I think that's when people get to that level of consciousness and level of awareness, that's when it's just stop saying, oh, I feel sad, or I feel angry, this is not good, I shouldn't be feeling this way, and start to realize, why am I feeling sad? Why am I feeling angry?
Exactly.
And start to question it instead of judge it.
Exactly. And it's amazing what you said. I just found it amazing that when you talk about you being raised in UK in that way, and I think a lot of people now who's listening in the Middle East or Far East, wherever, you find that how mutual is the raising for boys, that they should not express their emotions because emotion is weakness. And again, to put the woman in that part, so they are more emotional, which means that they are more weak. And this programming makes the woman always weak. The men should be strong. And so you are faking and you are suppressing your emotion. And she is suffering of stereotyping. So she will never be logical, you will never be emotional. And this is how we create societies that are searching for happiness and never find it. So it's amazing.
It does, it creates conflict, not only in our environment, but within ourselves as well, right? For like you said, like from the male comparison there, no matter whether from the UK, Middle East, or anywhere else, like for a guy, it's the same or very similar. It's the same for women too, right? Like you said, if it's deemed that women are weaker because they're more emotional in some, belief systems and model of the world, it then causes us women to then swallow our words and to not speak up and not have the confidence and the freedom, like you described earlier, to be able to just be fully authentic and show up naturally. And same for guys. And I think when we can show up more authentically and more consciously, everybody wins, except systems, maybe. But again, that's probably a conversation for another day. Dr. Hasan,
Charlotte, the most important thing that if I am as a man will understand that emotions, they are not bad, and I'm not weak to show my emotion, I will have more compassion with a woman, and will understand her more and will respect her, instead of saying, oh, she started now to cry and nag and You know, it will increase our connection to each other, because we will understand at the end of the day, we are human. We need to have emotions. We need to be sad. We need to be angry. A lot of people think that emotional intelligence means that I am a smiling person that is so forgiving, and I will never be sad, and I will never be angry, and you can do whatever I will not get angry. No, I always say emotional intelligent people will get so angry, but for the right cause, and they will know how to express it in the right way.
Yeah.
They will be sad, but they will do it for the right cause, and they will understand how to use it to grow, and so on and so forth. So this is why when someone asks me, what is this knowledge that help you in your life the most, I think it's emotional intelligence. I used to be highly emotional kid that was so close to his mother, and I think the feminine energy in me was so high because of my mother. And then in the meantime, I was raised in a society where you have to be the man, so it was a big conflict between being this and that. But at the end of the day, I feel so grateful that I had this woman in my life to always bring me back to balance and to make me more close to understand the other side, and to accept it and to praise it and not to feel bad about it. And she was always telling me that you need to be a true man to be able to cry. It's hard, because I remember I was watching a movie and I don't know what was a movie, and I was crying and I was holding myself not to cry because I'm a man, but the scene was so emotional, and she noticed this and she told me, that you need to be a true man to cry. If you feel something, just take it out. It was a science here and there that later on became a guidance in my life. So that's amazing. And I can see that you are now living in the Far East. So I have a question for you. How do you see people there when it comes to emotion? How mutual they are to your culture, to your countries? How do you see things there? Regarding people, I'm so interested in understanding people.
Yeah, everybody that we've met has been really friendly, whether they're expats living here, whether they're Thais living here, obviously, like everybody's just been really friendly.
It's something to do with island life. I think it's just the beach, the sea, the air, the nature.
The Thais are very much about community, right? They have large families. It's, you become their family as soon as you become connected. I had that same feeling actually when I was living in the UAE as well. It's like when you really get to know somebody, that's it, your family.
Intimacy. Intimacy. Warm intimacy,
Exactly. And different things matter. It's not about the flashy cars here. It's about come, let's break bread together. It's beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. It's I think that's the kind of thing that the Western society is missing. I think is that community bond. Whereas when you go to the UAE, you go to Thailand, Philippines, wherever, it's that family unity. Whether you are direct family or not, they treat you like family if they trust you and they accept you and they connect with you. But whereas like in a lot of the Western countries like the US and the UK, because there's so many people, it's so segregated, you can lose that sense of connection and lose that sense of community. Whereas we noticed that big time. I think we noticed it massively moving to the Middle East. The first, like when we moved there from the UK, just how accepting kind of like the Arab culture is of foreigners if they trust you and they connect with you. And you connect with them, and the same here in Thailand, the same in the Philippines when we went. It's just I think when people have that culture of community, of family, it doesn't matter who they are, where they're from. So if that energy's there, that connection's there, that's it. You're part of the family. You're one and the same.
It's part of this is the thing that I always try to analyze this, and I think I realized that part of being civilized and growing in technology will make us more into the contractual relations instead of empathic relations. So everything now in the West is based on contract. My relation with my wife will be contract. My relation with my mother, with my father, even with my sisters. I will give you an example. if you go with your with a woman outside, everyone will pay for himself. So it will be so weird for someone to say, no, I'm going to take it this time. And you lived in Dubai, you lived in the Middle East, you saw that it will be humiliating for someone to say, I will pay. They will fight for it. And the thing is that the relation there is still into the empathy. It's still raw, because we have to understand that civilization and technology and all this revolution is amazing, but it comes with a lot of bad influence on the core of humanity. We started to be more isolated. We started to be so lonely. You know, we cannot even stay on the street. If I stay now in the street in a red signal, for 1 minute, I cannot stay without opening my Facebook or, you know why? Because we cannot be lonely. We are lonely all the time. So we think that this device will make us feel not lonely, and this make us more lonely actually. So I think this is the reason why sometimes simplicity will show the best out of humanity. And this is what we need to understand when we are dealing with technology. And yeah, it's amazing, but we need, I think, to remind ourselves with the simplicity and the raw of life. Exactly how you did. I envy you for the decision, for the, you know, the strength to take this decision. It's not an easy decision to say, you know what, I'm going to leave everything and I'm going to go there and I'm going to live in an island beside the sea. And it needs a lot of courage.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because like, it just seemed like a very natural progression for us, but a lot of people have kind of really politely given us that compliment, and it's always lovely to hear, because a lot of people are inspired by it and they want to know how we've done it so they can make bold choices for themselves, and that's a big part of why we live the way that we do, because like you said, we've all got choices. What are we going to choose? Like, we need more people, I believe, the people that inspire me, the people that are going out there and living a bold life. They're treating life as sacred. They're not getting sucked into the streams of social media and the separation of society. They're actually owning their experience. They're creating their life in some way, shape or form. It doesn't mean it's perfect or it has to be perfect. It just means that you have to choose it.
Exactly. That's the beauty of it. And I think a lot of people will, again, we started this podcast, we were talking about wanting and needing. So this is the thing, that some people will always say that, yeah, I want to live in a nice place beside the beach or whatever. But at the end of the day, inside, deep inside, it's not a need. They are still needing materialistic stuff. They are still hooked on the fake image that the social media now is giving. You know, I was analyzing why some people, they are doing nothing on social media. Just, you know, they are taking the cam inside the house and doing nothing. And they are so viral and famous. And while people who are talking about informative stuff like life coaching, they are not watched as much as, you know, and I realized that I don't blame them, because I think people, they respect more the honesty of someone who's doing completely nothing, and he had the courage to open his camera and show that, or maybe he's doing something so stupid, but he had no issue to say, you know, I am stupid and I'm doing this stupid thing, and yeah, let's laugh together. And I think people are looking now for truth. So I think I will not judge people and say people are not interested into knowledge and psychology. No, they are interested, but we need to know and to find ways to reach them and to tell them that we are not people who are like robots. I have pain. You know, I'm crying sometimes. I'm depressed sometimes. Sometimes I don't like to talk to anyone. Sometimes I woke up and I don't see life beautiful and I see birds singing. No, sometimes I have my days. But the thing is that I am training myself with with my experience or other people's experience, how to be able to manage this as fast as possible, because life is so short.
Yeah.
I don't want to be hooked. It's okay to be sad, but it's not okay to be sad about being sad. It's okay to be angry, but don't be angry because you're angry. It's okay to be scared, but don't be scared to be scared. And this is where life is lost. It's not about the emotion. It's about being, to have the emotion against the emotion itself.
So let me ask you this, Hasan, what is your thoughts on guilt and feeling guilty for having certain emotions, and then also for feeling guilty for not taking time to look after oneself because they need to fulfill the needs of everybody else?
This is amazing. Guilt, again, you cannot put guilt in a sentence and you make a statement about it that guilt is bad or guilt is good. It depends on the situation. It depends on what did you do after feeling guilty. How do you relate guilt to your action? Because I can feel guilty for the rest of my life, but feeling guilty and then saying, okay, if I feel guilty, I need to do something about it. To program yourself like this is the thing that we need to do. Because you are absolutely right. Like when people do something and they know that they did something so wrong, they started to blame themselves, and then they start to feel so guilty that they did a wrong decision. Now, I always ask the question, if time will go back and you will still have the same awareness that you have at that moment, will you do something different? No. So why you are feeling guilty until now? Okay, feeling guilty is amazing, but this is just the energy for you to understand that I learned something today. I will not do this again. I will never do this again. That's it. But feeling guilty is something good. I think it's your brain telling you that it's the time for you to grow, to learn something.
What if somebody's feeling guilty and they haven't made a wrong decision? So it's like self-inflicted guilt, right? I feel guilty because I had a rest yesterday, or I feel guilty because I spent a bit too long feeling sorry for myself before taking action. Is it the same answer?
So, okay, okay, I understand you. So I am feeling guilty because I should not feel guilty. Something like this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, again, we will use the same rule. Yeah. Okay, next time when I will have something like this, I should not take a lot of time. I always say writing, you cannot imagine how many, I have notebooks everywhere, writing stuff.
Oh, no. You too.
I have, because I always train myself. I think Jonathan has. You are doing the same, huh?
No, Charlotte does the same.
Charlotte is doing it.
I've got journals everywhere. Yeah. But they're all for different things. It's all very specific.
Yeah, it could take her 10 minutes to walk from the kitchen to the balcony when she collects all of her books to take them outside, and it's a 2-second walk.
I'm going to do my reflections now. Off I go.
It's amazing. It's amazing. I was saying like 2 days ago, I was saying that if I will open now a story to read, and I would say that I woke up in the morning and I ate and I went to work and I felt so bad about my work because I think they are not appreciating what I'm doing. I went back, I fight with my wife as usual. We ate, I slept. And then the next page. I woke up in the morning, I went to the lab and I fight my wife and I was so angry and then I slept. And then so on and so forth. These kind of stories will not sell. It's a boring story. And at the end of the day, you need to understand the next page is empty. So, okay, it might be a very boring story at the beginning, and a lot of stories that I read in my life were boring at the beginning. They are nothing special. But then suddenly something happened when I realized, and when I realized something, I took an action to do something different, and small detail can lead to a huge different result at the end. So why I am writing, I am not writing only to express and take my emotions out. No. I am writing to prepare myself for what's coming. Because, I know something called emotional hijacking, which means that you should give your brain some time for the information to go to the prefrontal cortex to make a good decision and not to allow your amygdala to hijack the reaction. I know this very well. Still, sometimes when I'm driving, someone will do something and I will be so angry, and then I will do something that I will regret. And then when I go back, I say, next time, if I was in a signal and someone do this, I will not do that. Actually, I will do the following. I will open and I will listen to this music or whatever. Just an example. So it will happen again. but I will be well prepared. It's like reading the story and writing it your own way. I cannot control that guy who will come and do something in front of me that is illegal or unprofessional. I cannot control this, but I can control how I manage it next time. So this is why writing is so important. And by the way, there are some studies about using the pen and writing on a paper is one of the best way to communicate to raise the communication between the conscious and the subconscious. So it helps a lot.
It's been extremely powerful for me writing, and that's why I'm so passionate about it now, because I never really had a dialogue going. Like I was living life completely unconsciously and kind of found myself in these situations, and I'm like, how did I even get here? Like what's going on? Until I had my kind of wake up call. And writing has been powerful because of the expression, but I also think because of the release, right? Yes, it's expressing, but it's the release comes when we learn, I believe. So when we ask that question, like you said there, is like, next time the driver cuts me off, what am I going to do differently? How am I going to show up? Who is it I'm going to be in that moment? When you ask that, it's giving me goosebumps just asking that question to myself. I don't know if I've been driven for like 3 years, but I'm feeling it because writing will get you there, because it shifts your narrative. It shifts the perspective, and it shifts our ability to be resourceful in the times that matter the most, I think, and when we're challenged the most. So thank you for sharing that, because I think it's really, really powerful. Our listeners can really benefit.
It's amazing, amazing. Focus always will create energy, and to create a focus, you need to ask a question. That's as simple as it is.
Absolutely. Well, Dr. Hasan, both of us, we see you as someone who performs at the highest levels in basically the way you take care of yourself, your family, your health, and your responsibilities as a man of service. So my question for you is, how do you personally experience and manage stress and any challenges in your life?
I'm still learning, I'm still learning. I'm still using some techniques, and it works. And then I am bored of these techniques. And not only I am bored, I think life is upgrading the stress that it's throwing on me. And before I was taking this as like, oh my God, you see, every time I learn something, but and then I took it from a different point of view. I took it like, if I will have bigger challenges, it means that I am doing well. It's a big difference when you are doing $100 per month. Your issues will be different when you are doing 1 million.
Yeah.
When you have 100 followers, it's different than when you have 2 million followers. So instead of saying, oh my God, all these followers, and I say, oh no, I'm growing. This is why my issues are growing. The challenges are bigger. So to be honest, to tell you that now when stress happens, I immediately say, welcome to stress. I am so well ready now. No, it's not happening like this. I took my time. I feel sometimes stressed in a way that, oh my God, that's too much. But then again, I became very professional and this is what helped me, very professional in shifting my focus. And like, okay, this is not what happened. What should I do now? What should I do now? What should I do now? And this always lead like, okay, we will do this. We will try this. We will try that. And 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, suddenly you start to understand that this is the game. I will defend my humanity by feeling some negative emotions, because this is how I will defend me being a human. I am not an angel. I am not a machine. But again, I will defend my growth, and I will defend my pride and my ego about education, about learning what I learn in my life, by doing my best to shift my focus and finding a way to accept these challenges, to go around it. Sometimes the challenge is so big that will make you say, you know what, I need to change the direction. It's not always I have to solve everything. Some issues are not solvable. They are a big signs like, you are going in the wrong way. This happens sometimes in relations. It happens sometimes in fields that you are working. You might do something very good, but you are so bored and you don't like it anymore, and there is no motive in it. So it's a big sign that now is the time for you to shift, to find something else. It's amazing how life is so short, and we are still insisting to waste it in single emotion or single job or I don't know. It's sometimes we just need to realize this, that I always remind myself with death, and I always think that this might be the last day. And whenever I think like this, it's not something negative. It's something that motivates me to do the best, to enjoy this last day. And tomorrow is a new day. And when I woke up in the morning and I say, I'm still alive, maybe this will be the last day. And I'm telling you, it didn't happen to me because I decided to do this technique. It happens after I lost my sister. So I saw it. It might be the last day. So I need to utilize as much as I can. And Winston Churchill says something amazing. He said, I spend my life being afraid of things that never happen.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing I'm trying to remind myself. Don't be stressed. It might never happen.
Yeah, and most people are stressed because they are winding themselves up about something, right? It is kind of our nature to some extent, but we do have, like you said, the ability to shift that focus. With two questions I ask myself at the end of every single day is, one, have I lived my life as sacred today? And obviously, if the answer is yes, I reflect on, okay, how so, right? So that I really can enjoy it all over again in some way, shape or form. And if the answer is no, then my second question is, what are my vows so that I can play an even better game tomorrow? And I choose those words because I take a vow literally every single evening as to what the next day is going to be. It's not an intention. It's not this will be a nice idea. No, it's a vow. What is that going to look like? And I use the language of game to play a better game tomorrow, to remind me not to take life so seriously, because I am a classic, like you said, is look at one situation in isolation, and I can then really focus on that if I'm not careful. So it's really important that I kind of find a way to anchor me back to where it is I want my life to be heading. So anyone listening, give that a try. It's worked really well for me, and it is something that, you know, it's personal, but it can work.
You agree with me, both of you. I think I will ask you that working also with as an employee with big companies teach a lot. I learned a lot from this isolation, especially that both of you were growing in your career. You have good titles, so you prove something. And leadership for people inside a well-organized company, at least this is what people see from outside. But it teaches us a lot. Because I've been in a company that was very big, and I learned a lot of stuff sometimes about how to handle situations regardless of my emotion, to isolate issues, to be able to withstand that when the company is bigger, when my title is bigger, my responsibility is also bigger. And this also helped me when I started my own business to understand how to do this, because a lot of young kids now, they want financial freedom, and they don't want to be slaves for other people, and this kind of but man, you need to start somewhere to first learn how it's going from people who are doing this for a long time. Yeah. So did this help you in your life?
100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you want to go?
learn a lot of things to do, a lot of things not to do. And I think that's the same with any kind of big company you work for. There's always a lot of areas that can be improved. And as someone climbing the ladder or climbing in status, you start to notice these things and start to think, okay, this could be done different. This could be done different. And you take these learnings, you take these insights, and when you do eventually leave that company, you work for another one or you work for yourself, whatever that is, you take those learnings. You could have the worst job in the world, but every second of that job is teaching you something. And when you leave that job for another one, or you decide, okay, that's it, I've had enough, I'm going to start my own business, you're taking those learnings. It might have been what you learned not to do more than what you learned to do, but you're taking that into your next job or to your next business or whatever that is, to help you learn, to help you grow, to help you do things more effectively and efficiently, more productively, more resourcefully. So I think no matter what's going on in your life right now, if you're not enjoying where you are, your life feels like rubbish, remember, every second of your day is teaching you something. As long as you're willing to listen, you're going to keep growing. You're going to have the options to grow.
Amazing.
There's no way we would be operating in the way that we are now when it comes to our business and personally as well, if we hadn't been on that journey of working for other people and learning from different mentors. And like, I got to the point where I was in a national position which there was only 3 of in the world, and it was an amazing journey. I really enjoyed getting there, but I got to that point and then I'm like looking around, I'm like, okay, well, this isn't quite what I thought it was going to be, because in my head there was some expectation, like, and it was too easy for me at that time, based on my level of personal awareness, to look around and be like, well, then it's a problem with these people or these managers. They don't have direction. They don't know how to treat these staff members and this kind of thing. And it was all easy for me to see from there. And what was interesting is my awareness started to shift when I was in those, obviously, leadership roles drastically. If you're in a leadership position, your ability to adapt and pivot and to do your own personal work just goes tenfold, I believe. And that's one of the things that happened with me. And I got to the point where you can invoke a certain amount of change within any business when you're working for somebody else. But when it's your own, and when it's really being driven by your own purpose and your own intention and your own standards, that's when it starts to take on a whole life of its own. But it wouldn't have been birthed, for example, wellness theory wouldn't have been birthed in the way that it is now had we have not experienced all of that. Like, it's essential. Like you said, like, it's going to be hits along the way. We've got to learn how to adapt and have the capacity to be able to deal with it.
It's amazing. And I always say that I learned how to lead myself from leading others. Like, I grow. It's exactly like parenting. Sometimes when you have a kid and you start parenting, you realize that you're parenting yourself more than you're parenting your kids, because this is your number one job, is to be aware of what you're doing, not what you're saying. You can say whatever you want. They will only do what you do. So that responsibility make you grow in your awareness about who you are, and it gives you this push of self-confidence about that. If I'm gonna, because of the policy of the company, I need to go now to tell my employees that they need to do 1, 2, 3, 4. It means that I have also to push myself and believe that 1, 2, 3, 4 can be done. And the first time it will be difficult, and then it will happen, and the result will be amazing. And from there, you will have the push now. So if I put a target for myself and I put full commitment to it, and we agree to do certain stuff to achieve it, it will be achieved. And this help later on when you will face issues in your private business or in your life or even personal issues.
Yeah, definitely.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
I just want to say as well, if anybody's listening to this, like, you don't have to wait until you're in a leadership position, right, to be able to learn all of this stuff.
Exactly.
Like, one of the best leadership books we ever read is You Say You.
Well, for me, it's Robin Sharma's Lead Without a Title.
Yeah, same. And
that's a book that changed, that started the whole thing for me, the whole journey. It just changed my life completely.
Is very much around, like, leading ourselves, right? Regardless of the people that you're working for, if you're actually in a certain position or whatnot. And I wish I hadn't have waited so long to start learning about self-development. God, if I knew what I do now when I was like a kid, oh, how different would things be now? Like,
absolutely.
But not necessarily the way it's supposed to be.
This is my dream. This is my passion. I am always talking to, please put this in school. Please start from, we need to start this from first grade at school, slowly. And I'm preparing some modules maybe to be used for emotional intelligence. For me, I'm talking about now high school kids, but this is so important because this will save a lot of families, a lot of lives, a lot of potentials. There are a lot of people who are so talented, but it's so painful to see these people lost and don't know what to do. And they are in this jail of that. They are victims of, society and politics and what's happening here and there. It's a shame, we need to do something about it. And I am pushing as much as I can in all my social media to start as early as possible. I always say, I wish that someone talked to me and teach me all this. But again, it's never too late to start. And when you start and you feel that, oh, okay, this is amazing, try to pay it forward.
Yeah.
And this is what you're doing.
Same as you, exactly.
Yeah.
It's all making a difference in the world. Definitely,
Yes.
Absolutely. Look, Dr. Hasan, is obviously, I'm sure people listening to this are going, "Oh my God, there's so much amazing. I can't wrap my head around it all. There's so much on here." And we recommend anyone, when you're listening to something like this, you go back, listen to it again, take in, absorb that information, because every time you listen to it, you're going to take something away. But what I want to ask you now is, have you got any final words? You've said a lot. You've given so many insights and nuggets there, but is there any final words you have? Anything you think our listeners really need to know before we wrap everything up?
Yeah, I would say that you need to know who you are, and you need to understand who you are. I will not say that unleash the giant inside and the lion inside you, because you might be a rabbit, you might be a mouse, but a beautiful one that is so needed. Everything in this life has a role, and we need just to accept who we are. In order to accept who we are, we need to know first who we are. So know yourself more, read more. When you read, don't build an opinion from the first book you read. Don't take an opinion from anyone, including myself, and go fight for it. We might be so wrong. Build your own philosophy in life. Life is not lived by science. Life is lived by philosophy. And the philosophy, in order to reach to a place where you can have a philosophy in life, you need to read a lot of other people experience, a lot of science, a lot of stuff, everything that you can read about life in order to reach to your own philosophy and how can I live my life in a way that will suit me and will make me be the best version of myself. One of my last book now is called It's Not Fair, But. This is the last book I wrote, and it is all about philosophy, my philosophy in life. The books before, I have a book, Awareness Journey. Then I wrote We Are Not Here to Suffer. But the last one, it was my philosophy in life. It was 10 rules. From my point of view, it's not psychology, it's philosophy. It's not fair, but. And you can write your own version. I'm not talking about writing a book, but you can do your own version. You can think about your own philosophy in life, because I might be right, I might be wrong. I might be right sometimes and wrong other times. I might be wrong all the way. At the end of the day, nobody is living your life. Nobody will go with you when you leave this life. So try to enjoy it, man, and make something out of it. You can. Anyone can. If I can, you can. And maybe you can do it better. That's the last thing I can say.
Love it.
Beautiful, beautiful. What a perfect way to end the show. I, for one, I haven't read that book, your last one. So yeah, I will be doing that for sure.
We are all now into translation. So we are making it in many languages, English, French, Romanian, and Spanish.
Amazing. Awesome. Perfect. So we'll put all of the links of where our listeners can find you to follow your work, including to your books as well. And yeah, this episode I think is going to be a popular one. And like Jonathan said, this is definitely the kind of episode that you're going to want to listen to twice, if not 3 times, to really take home all of the wisdom that you've shared. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. Good dialogues needs 2 people. It's a dialogue. So I always feel happy to meet both of you. Again, you give me hope. I hope that people will also look at you, and I know you personally, and I will say that nothing is fake. This is why I love you both. Nothing is fake here. These people are living like this. I met Charlotte a long time ago, and when I looked at her and I said, my God, you were so young at that time. And I said, how come she's so mature in this young age? You know, I was even angry, like you were so mature in a very young age. And I was seeing someone who's so humbled. I didn't have the chance to meet Jonathan, but through the time we start to know each other, and being authentic and being honest is something amazing. And this is a good role model for people who really wants to understand that life can be lived in your condition.
Amazing.
Oh, thank you
Beautiful.
so much for that.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Just
you
to
so much.
add a little caveat to that, I'm still young. Even all these years later, you're as young as you feel. No, thank you so much.
You were 5 years old at that time. So.
Listen, thank you so much for your kind words. It's always a pleasure to speak to you, and we'll speak to you very soon.
The same. I wish you the best of luck and all the best. And I will be watching your pages and see the sunset and the sunrise and all these amazing, beautiful places. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hello, how are you?
Charlotte and Jonathan. How are you guys?
Great, thank you.
First of all, it's very weird that these two names, when they are together, they are very dangerous. I remember 2012, Britain Got Talent. There was a couple by the name of Jonathan. I don't know if you remember these people. They were amazing. Like they shocked the whole world, and I think they almost win the whole thing. So I think these two names are so dangerous together.
Trust me, we will not sing the way they did, and we promise not to.
I'm not going to ask you to sing. You're not singing today.
No, we don't want to scare anyone off.
Let me first say hi to everyone, and I wish that, and I know that what's happening today is amazing. The group of people that gathered today and the speeches, they were very interesting. I hope that I can add something today. I'm not going to come to show my muscles of the knowledge I have. I'm going to share some personal stories, and we will talk about this principle that if you want to help others, you need to start by helping yourself. And I'm sorry if I will shock you at the beginning and I say that I don't believe in this. Actually, I believe in the opposite, that the only way that you can help yourself is by helping others. And I will say that I learned it the hard way, not the easy way. But let's start by saying something that, you know, no one doesn't have this now. Everyone had this smartphone. And always I think like these people are making a lot of money. And why? This is the most important thing. I remember at the beginning of using in general mobiles, I was using Nokia. I think everyone knows Nokia. But now nobody knows about Nokia at all. They just disappear from the market. And smartphones started to take the lead. And again, they are making a lot of money. And if you think about it, these people, they are smart by doing one thing only. They don't care about the product. They care about the customer. So this is why, you know, the idea of putting a camera in front for you to take a selfie, like who think about this? It's someone who's like, how can I make it easier for people? How can I do something that make their lives easier? And this is where, you know, because I do a lot of business consultation, and I say to people like, if you think about your product, you will disappear. You have always to think about your customer. And from there, I will take you to my personal story about helping others. People who knows me and they follow me, they know very well the relation that I had with my mother. Because for me, my mother is the one who made me from scratch. I still remember that I was 3 years old when she started to read, and she was like every 3 days she finished a book. And I remember that she put me in a corner and she started to read stuff that I never understand, but I get used to listen to this kind of deep talking and stuff like this. And our relation grew, and she was calling me a doctor since I was like 5 years old. And I remember when we have guests, because I am Dr. Hasan since I was 5 years old, I was writing prescriptions, and the prescription, of course, was Kit Kat and chocolate, like you have to bring me this and you will be okay. But it was like a neuro-linguistic programming. She was programming me, but she kept telling me two things all the time. Everything in this life will happen for you, not to you. And the second, if you want to be happy, you need to make someone else happy. This was amazing. And I started to study. My IQ tests were very high. And I finished pharmacology. And then I started to go into the specialty of central nervous system medications. which is one of the most complicated. Most of people, they don't like because it's a lot of studying. And anyway, the nervous system is very hard. The brain is hard because I say all the time, all doctors can go into the organs that they are treating. You can do endoscopy, colonoscopy, blood tests. But when it comes to brain, you cannot go inside and see what's happening. I finished, and I had at that time to go to mental hospitals. It was part of my program. So I went with this perception that I will go to see now people who are financially not okay, and they are not so educated. This is what I thought. And my first case was a guy who had two PhDs. This guy was so charismatic. He was so educated. And he had schizophrenia. And I started to talk to this guy, and I just realized something so important. This guy had everything. He had knowledge. He belonged to a very rich family. And what happened for this guy that he fell in love, and she left him, and he couldn't handle it. He was so fragile that he lost it. Again, there are a lot of other reasons for schizophrenia. We are not now here giving this excuse, but I ask myself a question: what's it? Why people lose their mind? Why we are depressed? Why we have issues all the time? Why we cannot resist? And from there, I started to understand that, because I saw how they treat people in the hospital. It's all about giving them chemicals. Take this pill and this for you to sleep. And then they became addicted one way or another. And nobody speaks to nobody. And I remember that when they bring him, they didn't even call him by name. It was a file number. And I went and I talked to this guy. And this guy, after that, he became one of my biggest source of philosophy, because he had his own philosophy about life. Everything was okay. And I was promoting myself day after day. I was studying more. I was like, I need to be so educated to be able to help people. And until one day, and I was on the peak of everything, I had this phone call, and it was the worst phone call I ever had. They said, "Hi, Mama," it was my sister. She said, "Mama, she had cancer. And it's a very late stage." Now, someone like me, I don't know. I don't know how to lose. I just don't know how to lose. I was this kind of character that, no, what late stage? We will manage this. And I call it the bleeding phase of my life. Everything was bleeding. Emotion, money, everything. I tried everything. And I remember the last 36 days, she entered into a coma. And I remember I traveled back and I went to see her. And the moment I entered the room, she was not responding to anything. But when I entered the room, she felt me, and the heartbeat started boom, boom, in a way that the doctor ran back to the room and he said, "Who are you?" And I said, "I am her son." And he immediately told me, "You are Hasan." And I told him, yes. He told me the last thing that she said before she entered the coma. She said, "Every cell of my body is happy and proud about Hasan." She was mentioning me, anyway. And at that time, I was looking at my mother. She's not responding. I tried to call her, to talk to her, to remind her of stuff. Nothing is happening. And I looked at her and I said, "Tell me, please, how this thing now is happening for me. You said that everything will happen for me. Please tell me how. Give me a sign." Of course, there was no response. Suddenly, a guy was looking at me from outside, and it was an ICU room. So there are like units. And the guy was looking at me, and he was like, he knows me, he wants to approach me, and he's hesitating until eventually he approached me and he said, "You are Dr. Hasan, no? Oh my God, I follow you. You are amazing, la, 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 la." And at that particular moment, I cannot withstand even a fly. So I just want him to finish and leave, because I am not okay. So how can I help someone if I'm not okay? But he told me, "I need your help. My father had cancer. He's late stage. I think it's a matter of days. But the issue is with my mother. If she stay crying like this, I think she will follow him, or maybe she will die before him. Please, she's following you. She consider you someone so influential. Please help. Maybe if you talk to her. At this particular moment, I looked at my mother and I said, I think I understand. I went, I talked to these people. I was not okay. But the minute I finished what I said, the message was for me, not for them. Because I remember I was telling them that you need to be strong. You need to start to think how to manage this. What you will gain. This guy, maybe the best thing for him now, the mercy that will happen now for him to go to a better place. But the thing is that if this guy had the ability now to talk, he will be happy about what you're doing with yourself, what he will ask you to do. And they start to think like, okay, I need to think differently. Yes, crying will not solve the issue. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be sad. No, you need to be sad. But at the end of the day, we will not make one issue bigger. Nothing will help if I am destroying myself for someone else. And I look at this mother and I told her, how many kids you have? And she said she had 4. And I said that now they need you. And now it's a very good time to teach these kids that lives will go to an end one day. And maybe they have to use the time wisely and to spend it in a way that they will leave a legacy after them. You never know. This was the time where everything changed in my life. From being a consultant for only rich people, VIPs, with a very high price. And I said, no, I need to reach more people. I think a lot of people need help. And they don't need motivation. I don't believe in motivation. By the way, when someone motivates a group of people, he's the only one who's motivated. Because I can tell you that you can do it. Yeah, you can be, and I think this is the American way, and it's spread everywhere, which is, you are a lion. No, I want to see the strength. Man, I am not a lion. I am a rabbit. I am a rabbit, and I will be happy being a rabbit. But at the end of the day, we need to learn how to help ourselves by finding something bigger than ourselves to focus on. It's like going up. People who are in Dubai now, if you go up to a building 25 floors and you look down, everything looks smaller. And your vision can take a bigger space. So you see everything clear, you see everything smaller. And this exactly, when you started to think about helping others, your own issue becomes so small. And I think the first one who will benefit of this kind of act is the person who is doing it. Because I always say that whenever I advise someone to do something, immediately it's going into my subconscious. So some people with their issue, they remind me, how should I think in a positive way? Because life is shit. It's shit. And I just don't understand how people go and say, motivational speaker, life is amazing. No, life is not amazing. I am born to die. So where is the amazing life? Still, in this shit, we can build gardens. Everyone can do his own garden, and you do your own garden. And then we can make some bridges. But understanding what is life is the first thing that you can deal with it. Because if you lie to yourself, you will always be disappointed. Why I am not happy? I am doing this. I am going to NLP. I am going to meditation. I am successful. I made money. I am married. And at the end of the day, I am not happy. Because you are running after illusion. Life is not that amazing. No, it's not. It's not. Just not. This is what's life. It's a lot of struggle. But it doesn't mean that I have to give up and say, oh, okay, this is life. I shouldn't do anything. No. You should learn how to help others in order to help yourself. It's how to grow to a different level, to upgrade yourself, to go from this war that's called life. I am an old-fashioned man, so I love Frank Sinatra. I love this man. I love his songs, and the famous one, and now the end is near. So one time I was hearing this, the end of me, and I did it my way. And I said, what if now I'm 80 or 90 years old? And I just imagine, and I have this power, I love to go into imagination. And I said, okay, I am now 80 years old. And I remember that I started to shiver. And I asked myself at this, what you will regret? And what you will say that, oh my God, I'm so proud that I did this. And I found out something amazing, that everything that I say that I'm so proud of was related to someone else. It was not related to me. I didn't say that I'm so proud that I buy a brand new Mercedes, or I'm so proud that I built an amazing house. Everything was related, like, I'm so proud that I raised an amazing kid. I'm so proud that I helped many people, and so on and so forth. And I advise all of you to remember this and to try to do it. You know, at the end of the day, we will reach to a point that wishes cannot be true, because we will lose the strength. And you know, it's counting down since we are born. But the amazing thing about life, that it's a decision. It's only a decision. In one point, I could have been in a different place because of a decision. I remember when my mother's story happened and everything, I lost self-confidence. I said, I was advising people to live life, and life is amazing. And I was like, sometimes I was judging, like, why they are so sad, and why? And then I understand that sometimes life can hit you so hard in a way that you will feel that you are so weak. But in this weakness, we discover that you have the strength of one thing only, that nobody can take from you. You are so free to react to what's happening to you. So life can hit, but it's my decision to react, how I will interpret, what I will do. This is my decision. Yes, some people are lucky and some people are not. But at the end of the day, it's how they see it. It's how they see it. This is why we see a lot of people, and they influence us all over the Facebook and YouTube. We see people that are, you know, they have special needs and stuff like this, and they are so motivated and they are happier than people who had everything. And I always say, if it's about money, I will not find food. I will not be able to make money, because most of our consultations come from people who had everything, but they don't know how to be happy, because it's the illusion of I'm running and running and running because I want to achieve something. And then when I achieve this thing, I say, oh my God, why am I not happy? The thing is that lately, like the last 50 years, it's like media was used in a very mean way for us to be more consuming. This is why they are selling more like how for you to be okay. So this is why the plastic surgery now is growing, fast food, everything is easier, faster. And unfortunately, it's bad. It's not helping people to be happy. Now I am living a life that 100 years, only I think kings were living. It's, you know, the easy way to communicate with people, having a phone to call anyone. Everyone had a car now. My father was going to his school walking. Car was something that is, what car? Nobody, it's not something that everyone had. Now everyone can afford to have a car or to have a phone, a Samsung, iPhone, whatever. So we are living an easier life, but still we are not happy. This media change what I call the empathic relation and replace it with something called contracts. So my relation with my wife is a contract. It's not based on empathy. So I can wake up in the morning, I want to divorce. Why? I'm not happy. Why you're not happy? I don't know. And I hear it a lot, like, my husband is kind, but I'm not happy. I want to discover myself. Why? Because the media put in our mind that there is something always missing and you need to search for it. And you need to be so selfish. Otherwise, you will not be able to live. Be selfish. Man, if this was true, that I need to help myself first to be able to help others, what my mother and your mother was doing, you know what she will say? Shut up, nobody talk to me, I need to be okay. Let me sleep, let me eat, let me go to the gym, let me breathe, let me meditate, and then I will take care of my kids. You think a mother, if she will do this, she will be happy? I always relate it to mother because they are the best way to describe giving. And she's happy. She's not sleeping, but she's happy. She go through hell until she give birth. But all the pain is going away when they put this baby in her hand and she starts to look at him and smile. And he looks so ugly, but she see him the most, all kids are born not so beautiful because of that. But she see him the most beautiful creature. And she can do anything for this kid to live a better life. And she is focused on this in a way that she's not complaining. I cannot do what a woman can do. I cannot sleep 2 hours a day. I cannot, I just can't. For no one. I cannot stay awake. I cannot hear a kid crying all night. Wah, 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 wah. And I need to know and guess if it's gas or he's hungry or I don't know what. And I cannot do this. But a woman can do it. Yes, she had something called motherhood instinct. But shouldn't we learn something from this? Why she's withstanding all this hardship? Because she's giving. She's giving. This is why my idea about being happy in life is all related to giving. After this incident with my mother, and I started to do these online courses before COVID, before all this, and I started to say, like, I want to reach more people, and I opened my Facebook page, and a lot of people was like doubting, and they say, ah, come on, nobody will listen to this thing. And I said, okay, let's try. And now I'm celebrating 2 million followers. I remember in COVID, I had one video that had 75 million views. Why? Because I always stick to the truth. And I always believe that in order for me to survive, I need to make other people survive. I need to make it easier. This is my role. So I will ask you to do the following. This is a small advice from someone who go through hardship until I reach there. Ask yourself, because you are, for sure you are blessed. Ask yourself, what are you blessed with? You can name 5 of your top blessings, and then ask yourself, how can you help using your blessings someone else? Immediately, your brain will change the focus from being, oh my God, I cannot do this. I am so lonely. I am so bored. COVID. Immediately, your brain will give you different answers. That's the only way the brain works. Change the question, the brain will change the answer. So this was my story. This is what I wanted to share with you.
If you enjoyed this episode with Dr. Hasan on how to help others by helping yourself, you will absolutely love the Become a Force for Good event that we are hosting again this year on October 27th. It's all about living authentically, living abundantly, living consciously, so we can all be a force for good in the world. So if you want to know more about that upcoming event, check the link in the show notes.